All right, man. You know it has to be an emergency to pull us out here in March 23rd. There's no draft, there's no training camp, there's no season. And Pete Sweeney, you better be paying all three of us for this. I'm telling you right now for us to come out and we live here. That is BK. I'm sure that's sort of what the hell is going on? Why are we here? Tyreek Hill has been traded 30 mil a year. He is now the highest paid non-quarterback in football, 72 plus guaranteed. He is no longer a Kansas City Chief. How? How did we get here? How?
You want me to start with what the national media is telling you, or you want me to start with
I want to know
what
what
my
the hell
theory
Brandon.
is?
You please. I want to hear your theory. I don't give a damn about no national.
I don't believe what people are saying about this was completely in reaction to the Devontae Adams deal. I just don't believe it, man, because he ended up getting a $25 million per year contract. And all of the reporting that we've heard coming out of Kansas City is that the Chiefs were willing to go to like 20 to 24 is I think what everything has been reported thus far, because the $20 million guys are like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and that kind of range. Everybody knew Tyreek was going to get more than them. 27 is where you're at with like the top end of the market right now. That's where they ended up landing in Vegas with Adams. I figured it would come somewhere in the middle. 24, 25 made some sense to me. And that's what he got. Like the $30 million per year contract that everybody is referring to is not real. You don't have to refer to that, guys, because that last year in his contract in Miami is fake. It's a $45 million piece of paper, and they're going to rip it up and tear it apart, and they're going to pretend like it never existed, because if they cut him in that year, they are $5 million worse off because of it, and that's in 2026. It's thrown in there so that way Drew Rosenhaus can have a PR release where he can send it to Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport and say, look, my guy is now the highest paid player in NFL history among non-quarterbacks in an annual basis. It's not real. So if he wanted $25 million per year, Ron, maybe I'm wrong on this, and I'll be proven wrong by the reporting that comes out. I think the Chiefs would have given that to him. I think Tyreek Hill wanted to play elsewhere. I think he wanted to go somewhere else. And I think that that's how we got to this place. I think he was dragging his feet on signing a deal. He saw the Devontae Adams deal, and he said, this is my out. This is my way to go play football in Miami where I want to go play. And now he's going down there to play. Because you can't tell me that the Chiefs wouldn't have gone to $25 million per year. And if they went to 24, you're telling me Tyreek Hill wanted to be traded over $1 million per year? I'm not buying it.
That's a take I'm not hearing a lot of. I don't know. I do think the Adams thing changed something. Maybe he did. It is just hard for me to think, man, dog. I want to ride down here with Tua, man. That's where I want to live, man. My life, man. That's where I want to solidify things. Here is out here with Tua's ass. Like it is hard for me to believe that he went there. I don't know. I do think the Adams deal did change some things. He saw some numbers and maybe hit a number that the Chiefs were like, man, I'm not rocking to this. I'm not rocking to this. There seemed to be a deal of I want to be the highest paid guy, receiver, non quarterback. I want to be that dude. I want to set the market. My man said I watched Deshaun Watson just get 230 guaranteed while having 22 lawsuits out. Hell, my problems was 2014. I can go and get everything I want now. I can go do everything that I can. I just cannot believe. I don't know how else to say it. I can't believe Tyreek's is stupid. I can't believe that he is so much to a point of living like, all right, man, I'm so down with this. I'm gonna go down here with this organization and this quarterback to roll down here. I know Miami's a beautiful place, but damn it, he can live there most of the year outside of being in Kansas City and leaving, you know, leaving the best quarterback potentially in the game in Patrick Mahomes to go to Tua. So I don't know, man. I do feel like it was a money play, and the Adams deal kind of gave him a number where he wanted to go above and set the market. I just can't believe he wanted out of playing with the
So
Chiefs.
I agree with both of you guys in different ways. Like, I do think that the Devontae Adams deal changed something here, something in this negotiation process. I think some of it might have been, Tyreek Hill looking at his career and the fact that his off the field issues made him fall to the 5th round. So, okay, you're already not a high end draft pick. So you didn't get a high end contract your first few years in the NFL. Then his other issues led to the Chiefs essentially getting a discount on his second deal, which still a sizable contract, still a lot of money, just not the kind of money that they were supposed to be, that you're supposed to get when you're Tyreek Hill, when you're that caliber of player. But the Chiefs have gotten deals on Mahomes and Kelce. So you thought that was just kind of part of the process. Like, you're taking less money to be a part of this winning culture, to win rings with Patrick Mahomes. But Tyreek Hill might be saying, like, well, this might be the last big deal. And so I didn't get that money out of the gate. Now I want it on the back end. So I think it might have changed something there. But then when you look at the contract, I also agree with BK. It's that 4th year. He might wind up playing 4 years in Miami, but that 4th year is not real. Like, that's going to be, if he winds up playing 4 years there, it's going to be converted somehow. They're going to change that up. They're going to restructure it. He's not going to get that 4th year of that contract. And so it's basically a 3-year deal. And when you break down the numbers, it sounds like the Chiefs were basically willing to offer him that. So now I'm back at the conclusion that, okay, he wanted the money and he wanted to live in Miami. And he said that I would prefer that over winning because I've already done my winning now.
Also, part of what's gone wrong here is the reporting on the Devontae Adams deal. What's been reported is not real. He got a 3-year, $67 million deal from the Raiders. That's what he got. It's $22.5 million on a per year basis. The Chiefs were offering that. Every report that you had seen was that the Chiefs basically offered him a 4-year deal worth $21.5 million per year. Guarantee, when they saw that deal from Devontae Adams, they were willing to go up an extra $1 million. I don't have that on reporting, but I can promise you that that would have happened on the Chiefs' end. I just don't know what happened that led to this. If he just wanted a funny money year on the back end of the deal to say, hey, I'm the highest paid player in the history of the sport, like, the Chiefs could have put $100 million into that final year. He ain't never going to see it, but he can pretend like he's going to get it. And then to your point, sort of him just wanting to be the highest paid player, I think part of this is just, you've got to have some self-awareness, man. Like, if that's what you wanted, and you wanted that back in, 2019 when he got his last deal, like, it was bad timing. Like, 2019, the Chiefs draft plans changed because of the Tyreek Hill recording that came out. That was bad timing. 2021, they asked him to get a restructure. He says no. Why? Nobody really knows, because it doesn't actually change anything in terms of the cash flow that comes into you, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to take a restructure. That was weird. That last season prevented them from being able to make some other moves. And now this year, all offseason, they've been handcuffed in what they've been able to do because this negotiation has dragged out as long as it has. Like, listen, Tyreek Hill can go do whatever he wants to do. The NFL is becoming a little bit like the NBA, where the players have a ton of power, and more power to them, man. They're the ones that are out there going out there and they're balling out. And Tyreek Hill has been one of the best players in the NFL on a below market value deal for 6 years for the Chiefs. God bless him. Good for you, man. Do your thing. If you wanted to be in Miami, I got no qualms with it. I just have an issue with the way that some of this is being presented, if that's really what was happening here. If what was happening here is Tyreek wanted to go make a bunch of money to play in a town that he wanted to live in, that's fine. But can we just be honest about what happened here? Because I haven't seen that coming up anywhere, and I think that's what happened, man.
I think there's a lot to this, man, and I think there may be a lot to this in regards of everything that has come with Tyreek Hill. And I feel like there's two sides that I think feel are being a bit disrespected, and think that the other side should have a different thought to it. I think on the Chiefs end, they're sitting there thinking, hey, man, we took a chance drafting your ass in the first place. And then we even paid you right after you had that recording that came out that made you look real bad, right? We even gave you a deal where you got big money off of it. And now Patrick Mahomes, and I'll get to what's got to be in his head in a bit, but Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Tyreek or Travis Kelce kind of all probably didn't get as much as they could have. And now we come to you here and we're dealing with you, and now like you want to just hit us over the head with it after we have sat here and given you a contract that really we didn't have to. We didn't suspend you. We didn't do anything, to you. We just kept you on board, and we were right behind you, supporting you the whole way, even when it was a thought of maybe we need to do something. And then on the other end, like you alluded to, Tyreek Hill, and his point is saying the entire time y'all have had me, y'all have had a Pro Bowl to Hall of Fame level guy, and y'all ain't never had to pay me what I'm worth. Y'all ain't never had to come close to paying me what I'm worth. You got a bargain in the round you drafted me in, and then because of everything that happened, you got a bargain and how you constructed the contract and you paid me, and now I'm out of bargains. Like you gotta hold me down. So I feel like it's both sides. So I think have maybe legit qualms and points
Sure.
coming into this together that then has led to they can't get together. And I bet you both sides are like, come on, man. Like after we done held you down, Tyreek, like you can't, like you ain't gonna work with us. And then Tyreek, like, hey, I've been giving y'all discounts since y'all got me, and y'all can't give me, what I want. And I think it's an interesting thing. Whoever knew the reasoning for the trouble that Tyreek Hill had coming into the league would be like potentially the thing that has hurt him in this situation. And I would not be surprised if the Chiefs felt like, I mean, y'all, you should be willing to work with us. After everything we have done to help you and get you, you should be willing to work with us. And that is not the climate that Tyreek Hill is in.
I do also want to say something else. The Chiefs like to structure their contracts in a very specific type of way. They like doing these incentive bonuses. They like having a big bonus up front and a super low salary. And I mean, based on the way that Tyreek has looked at some of those things in the past, I do wonder if that's part of this as well. You look at his deal that he got with the Dolphins, it's very straightforward. He gets X number of dollars in salary. He gets X number of dollars in a signing bonus. It's all very straightforward, right there to the point. And I wonder if some of that came into this as well. We'll probably never know, honestly, as to what the actual breaking point was here. But there was some great reporting over on The Athletic from Nate Taylor. He reported that Tyreek Hill basically told the Chiefs, hey, unless you make me the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, I'm not playing for you this year. And so if there are some people that are saying today, like, hey, why didn't the Chiefs just call his bluff? Why didn't they just have him play for him this year? They had him under contract. It's not like he was a free agent or something. They could have just held his rights. If that's real, and Tyreek is a very prideful guy, and he just flat out wasn't going to play for him this year, you weren't going to get more value for Tyreek as you continued going along. This is when you were going to extract the most value out of him in a trade because of his age and because of the contract. I don't like it. I'm unhappy today because the Chiefs don't have Tyreek Hill on the team. They're not better today because of this. They're going to be worse this year as a result of this. But I get how something like this could happen. And Ron, you're right. It's both parties. I might have came on a little strong where Tyreek, this is like, I think he might have forced his way out. But that only happens because the Chiefs didn't come in immediately and say, hey, ready to go, make you the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, whatever you want, we're going to make that happen. But there's got to be some give on both sides. And it seems like in this negotiation, it was more both sides wanting to take as much as they could.
And Serta, the other backdrop to this, fellas, and Steve, I know you had to be thinking this. I know the way your head goes is Pat Mahomes has got to be somewhere pissed. Now, he hasn't tweeted or anything in a day, but Pat Mahomes would be like, hey, man, I put together this contract so we can all eat, so we can keep this thing together. I did this so you can go get another deal, so Travis can get a new deal, so Chris can stay on board, so we can even keep Frank's ass here, so we can get Tyrann Mathieu. So I did this to put everybody together and to be able to, I structured this contract for that to happen because Lord knows, Tyreek Hill, what you did, Patrick Mahomes most definitely could have done that with the Chiefs and hit him over the head and done whatever he wants. He can go in there right now and say, you know what, my man, Deshaun got 230 guaranteed. I need 3. He could go make, but he didn't do that. He had a plan, and I'm thinking he thought we all had a plan. I think he thought we all had this together to keep this thing together. And now you didn't just go on road, get dipped to Miami on us. You didn't just dip. Like I can't imagine where Patrick Mahomes' mind is.
I agree. And yeah, he hasn't tweeted. I know we'll hear from Patrick at some point. He's going to talk to the media inevitably. That's probably not going to be until later in the off season, and he will undoubtedly get asked about that. And, maybe he does.
Oh, he's going to be a stand-up guy.
And, he'll tweet something out eventually, I would imagine, the same way Travis Kelce has, and McCole Hardman and Clyde and Chris Jones and whoever else is on the team. But that is the logic, right? But how often do we actually see those things fall into place like the way that they're planned? When guys are like, oh no, I want to be here forever. I want to win championships. That's just what you say to fans. That's what you say to organizations. You tell them what they want to hear at that time.
Tyreek said 7, didn't he? Tyreek said he wants to win 7 championships.
Yeah. And then inevitably the day comes where you got to start negotiating, and Tyreek Hill chose to take this path. Now, I agree with you guys. This makes the Chiefs worse today.
They're not Super Bowl contenders.
They are not. Yeah, I think there's a strong case that they're the fourth best team in the AFC West. It's okay. I think the Chargers and Broncos are both better than them today, and you can make the case that the Raiders are as well, because the Chiefs have the most holes on their roster of any team in this division today. And so
they have the worst offensive weapons, and they have the worst defensive.
Yeah. And so this move definitively makes them worse today. But I am curious if, once these things started to unfold, and BK mentioned it, I talked about it earlier today on the Arrowhead Pride Emergency podcast, Tyreek Hill dragging this out essentially handcuffs the Chiefs in free agency and kept them from being able to spend big the way maybe they wanted to. So there was a turning point over the last 10 days or so where it said, okay, we got to start switching gears and changing to how do we get the resources to revamp this entire roster moving forward with young, cheap players and stay competitive, because we should stay competitive, right? With Patrick Mahomes, we've seen what Aaron Rodgers has done with inferior rosters. Like, with that guy, you assume that you're going to be a competitive team, but in this unbelievable division, you're simply not the best team in the division anymore. Like, you just can't be. But that had to switch pretty quick over the last 10 days to, okay, now it's about acquiring assets, because now we got to build this thing back up for the future, because that championship window, the makeup of that team that went to 4 straight AFC title games, back-to-back Super Bowls, 1 ring, that's over. That's done with now.
BK, I can't be on the bill for the future right now. Like, you got Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry, man. You got to try to make a way.
So it's interesting because this is clearly, I've referenced this before, the Patriots comparison for where the Chiefs are and what the Patriots had to do. The Patriots went through like 4 different builds in the Tom Brady era. The first one, the 4-year stretch where they won the 3 rings early on in Brady's career, that was dominated by defense.
Yeah.
The next era that we remember is the Randy Moss era, right? You got Randy Moss, you got Wes Welker. They're throwing it all over the yard. It's one of the greatest offenses that we've ever seen in the history of football. And then that changed. And then you had the 2 tight end era where they've got Aaron Hernandez and they've got Rob Gronkowski, and they go that route. And then it changes again, and it goes into the Gronk and Edelman era. And they evolved over time, and there was always a new wrinkle to what they were going to do. And now that's what the Chiefs are tasked with, man. And it happened quick. Yep. You think they would like to go back like 2 weeks right now and be able to get back in on those Amari Cooper sweepstakes? Like, you could trade a 5th-round pick right now for Amari Cooper at a $20 million salary for this year that you could restructure where he's going to cost you like $7 million. Yeah, I think they'd probably like to get back in on that right now, but they didn't know at the time that they were going to be without Tyreek Hill. So the timing is not ideal, obviously. But I got to say, Ron, to that point, this becomes one of the more fascinating off seasons from here on out that I can remember, because they have a ton of ammunition when it comes to draft capital. There are some guys still out there that might be available to trade for. And also, if they just hold this until the draft, I'm fascinated to see what Brett Veach does with it. Does he move up? Does he move back? What's he going to maneuver? He's got to knock this thing out of the park.
See, my thing is that I can't I can't accept. And if I'm the Chiefs, and if you're a Chiefs fan, I just can't accept that you're closing the door this year on a real championship aspirations. Now, it may look different. It's going to have to. But I would hope that they are still looking at making moves and doing it. Look how, man, Andy ain't young. Like, Andy ain't in this rebuild it on up here thing, and we just go use these late first round picks we got. To me, there's one real move that I see that can be made right now that says, all right, they're back in that level. They're not going to be as good as they were with Tyreek Hill. They're back in that level. And that is seeing if Seattle is going to give up DK Metcalf.
I just don't see it. I don't think they're going to.
I mean, that to me is like, when you look at the other spaces, I don't know other teams that be willing to give up wide receivers that would make the most sense.
Brandon Cooks, is he available?
Like that. I mean, that's just like Landry to me. That's just like,
it's 1,000 yards every year, though, man.
Brandon Cooks,
and you got Juju. If you get a first-round receiver, Juju and Brandon Cooks, it's not great. It's never going to be what it was with Tyreek Hill. You're not replacing Tyreek Hill 1-for-1, but Cooks gives you a pretty solid patchwork there.
No, I mean, no, it's just a different guy. But now I think you just have a bunch of people who like to be in the same area of the field that are effective in Juju and Cooks and Kelsey. Here, DK Metcalf obviously would be a guy that is a big-time downfield threat, and he's not the downfield threat that Tyreek is. I want to make that very clear. But he is somebody you look at it and you say, all right, man, we're going to roll with Kelsey, Metcalf, and Juju, Hardman. Like, you could, like that one, you could say, okay, Patrick Mahomes can drag that together. Like, that's to me the only real big time move, unless you start doing some hoping and wishing, and you find a rookie wide receiver that is just amazing, but that's not something you can depend on and count on.
I just think we're past that point. Like, I think we're at a point where the free agent market, the top end guys that you could have paid, that you would have wanted to add to legitimately, those guys are day one contributors. They're going to make you better as soon as you sign them and get them on the football field. That market's basically dried up at this point. It's NFL draft now. We got to get young players in here that are inexpensive.
I can't accept
and we got to hit on these draft picks. I just don't see them going out and, after trading away Tyreek Hill, then trading away more draft assets for a player like DK Metcalf, who's going to be looking for an extension next season. Like,
on top of that, he's just not available. Like, I would be absolutely stunned if the Seahawks with Pete Carroll at the helm are going to throw in the towel. You mentioned it with Andy. Andy doesn't want to rebuild, and neither does Pete. Pete's going to try to get Baker Mayfield or one of these other guys that's going to become available at quarterback, and he's going to try to piece that thing together. It ain't going to work, but he's going to try.
The towel. He's throwing into the towel with it. Like, I don't know, man. We heard Tyler Lockett was available around the time Russell traded. I mean, if they can get more first round picks to make it about, I've got to explore that. I can't just, to me, when you say the draft, when you say like what Serta is saying, I'm not saying it's not an understandable point that you're making, but when you say you're going to go that route, then you're saying we're just a team hoping to make the playoffs.
But I think you can improve elsewhere. I think the way you do this is you reallocate your assets. And that doesn't mean you're going to go into the year as the favorite. I don't think there's anything the Chiefs can do between now and the start of the season that will make them the favorite over Buffalo. I don't think there is. I think they're probably going to be playing a road playoff game this year. But if you reallocate some things, if Robert Quinn, for example, becomes available, I don't know if he will or not, but we can all say that Chicago's not going in the right direction right now. If they got $20 million of cap relief, like, maybe they would do that. But somebody like that in that ilk, okay, that's a defensive end that could come in and help you right away. You can make his deal and structured in a way that he's making, I think, $13 million this year. It's not breaking the bank for you. You could make that work. You bring in a guy like James Bradbury, probably give up a 5th-round pick for him right now, and New York's even considering cutting him. He's a pretty good corner. He comes in, he helps you right away. All right, now we fixed some things at defensive end and at cornerback for us. That's the money we're planning to give to Tyreek Hill, and instead it's going to the defensive side of the ball. We fixed 2 really big holes there on that side of the ball for us. You're not going to like this answer, but at wide receiver, maybe you trade for Laviska Shenault, and maybe you bring in a Jarvis Landry or a Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who I am not a big fan of, but I think that's probably the route they're probably going to have to go. Somebody like that, a mid-tier veteran receiver, and you trade up maybe to 15 or so, and you get whichever is your favorite of this year's wide receivers. Maybe they end up having a Justin Jefferson type of rookie year. We've seen a lot of those guys that have come in right away now, and they're able to have, maybe it's 800 yards as a rookie. And you've still got McCole Hardman there. You've still got Juju Smith-Schuster there. I could see how it pieces things together in a way that makes you pretty good. Are you the favorite? No. I don't think there's anything you can do between now and the beginning of the season that's realistic that makes you the favorite. But, man, that's where we're at. And now it's about hoping and wishing, and baby Patrick Mahomes going to be earning that contract this year. I'll tell you that much.
Will Fuller.
Yeah.
Let me get
Fuller,
some
sure.
Fuller action.
You're saying a whole bunch of hoping and wishing on both sides. Like I understand redirecting where the money goes and adding and strengthening other spots, but I mean, like that ain't it. That ain't gonna be it.
Before we get out of here, I can't let us leave this podcast without mentioning Garrick Dieter just had himself a day today. Aside from him, not getting paid and making millions of dollars like Tyreek Hill, being on the FaceTime with Tyreek in the picture that his agent sent out, that Tyreek sent out after they knew the deal had gone through, and then in Tyreek Hill's farewell message to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Kansas City community, Dieter gets a shout out. Look at our guy. That's not
my guy. Patrick Mahomes packed his shit and put it out on the damn porch. whatever shorts or whatever stuff that Garrick has at his house, he packed that shit up and put it on the porch and told Andy and Brett, y'all can go ahead and be done with him because you've shown your allegiance. Take your ass to Miami then. You're gonna do that. How dare you? Could you be on the phone like that? Pat's hurt, and you in here on the phone. Get your shit and get out. That's what Pat's telling Garrick Dieter. He ought to be ashamed of himself.
Ron, one question before we get out of here.
12.
If you can't have, let's say they can't trade for a receiver that's going to get you excited. Those guys aren't available because I think that's a reality. I don't think any of those guys are going to be available, and I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see DK Metcalf as a Chief. What could they do that would make you excited about 2022? Outside of trading for one of those receivers, like dealing in the realm of the reality that we have to assume is real.
Like
what could they do?
I've been in mind mode. The Chiefs are in Super Bowl, and you have Patrick Mahomes every year. You're in Super Bowl mode, and the only way is to just put together some hellacious defense, or add moves. Like you're saying, those just moves aren't going to be enough. Like those moves are going to put you in the 15th range, and that ain't going to be good enough to go along with what you have. I mean, I think they have been handcuffed with how late they had to wait, but they like JPP ain't going to be enough. Even Bobby Quinn ain't going to be enough. I don't know, man. Like the trades are like you can't get a Khalil Mack now. You can't get like guys that can be complete game changers to reel it in.
Sucks that they can't go after J.C. Jackson with that money that they just become available.
I'm just saying, dog, like with this offense, the way it's shaping up, like they look like they're going to need to be a Super Bowl contender, a real one. And it's not just what the Chiefs have, it's what everyone else has done to them. Like they have LeBron James this thing. They have looked at Mahomes and said, we've got to do whatever the hell we can to beat you. Everybody almost in the AFC has done it. And you rolling out here with Juju Smith-Schuster and McCole Hardman as your best wide receivers. Like what in the hell? So to me with that, like you got to have a top 10 like defense, even with Mahomes, to be able to fight off these other teams. And I just don't know what it is they would be able to do to put that together. Like I'm gonna say this. I know Andy and Brett ain't just gonna sit back. I don't think. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to work things and try to put together a team that can compete. I'm just intrigued to see what it is. But as it is right now, they're not a Super Bowl contender, and they will have a fight to get into the playoffs because they got to go through 3 other teams in their own division who are on a fight to get in.
Sir, I know we got to get out of here, but is there anything they could do realistically speaking that could get you back in? Like, not that they would be the Super Bowl favorites, but you'd go into the season thinking like this team could still win a Super Bowl if things fell right for them.
I mean, I think Melvin Ingram is the easy answer at edge. He's not a long-term answer, but if you bring him back, and it might be like he wants to wait to sign type of thing because he doesn't want to go through all the dumb off-season stuff at this stage of his career. I think that is a win for you because he's going to be affordable, and we saw last year that he can still be very effective. Your pass rush still isn't going to be as good as any other pass rush in this division, but that's where we're at right now. You do that, you go draft somebody, and then it's just about veteran dart throws at this point. Just whatever's available on the market that you can get at a reasonable rate, because now you got the money to do it. You can go do it now and go hit on some draft picks, and you go into next season just assuming that Patrick Mahomes is going to be enough to keep you in contention all year. Because we talked about this earlier today on the NFL show. The AFC North's got the Browns, who are going to have Deshaun Watson at some point, right? The Bengals, who have added to their offensive line, so they're going to be even better with Joe Burrow. They just made a Super Bowl. Ravens, I think, are going to be good and competitive next season. They had so many injuries last year. It really hurt them down the stretch. And then you talk about the Colts, like they're kind of interesting with Matt Ryan. Like, this AFC is absolutely stacked. It's not just the AFC West. It's the entire conference.
Ron, can I try to
in the conference?
And Buffalo, and Buffalo's the best team in football, probably.
Ron, before we get out of here, I'm glad he brought up.
You've said this twice. Before we get out of here,
I'm glad he brought up the Bengals, because you look at what they did a year ago. It wasn't like they put together that defense with a bunch of studs. Like, they went out there and they paid cheaper deals for some of those guys. Chidobe Awuzie, he wasn't a big time player. Von Bell, he's not getting crazy amounts of money. Mike Hilton, not crazy amounts of money. Eli Apple, I know everybody gets our jokes off on him, but he ended up being a significant piece of that defense. You could piece this thing together, as Sert is saying, especially on the defensive side of the ball. It ain't going to be easy. They got to basically bat 1,000, but they could still do it.
But they didn't have Deshaun Watson in their division last year. And Lamar Jackson died in the middle of the season physically, and he was gone, right? Russell Wilson wasn't over here as well, right? The Raiders didn't have Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller rolling around as a damn triple threat. Like, this AFC is in a different world right now.
It's fair point.
Buffalo didn't have Von Miller on the outside as a pass rusher as well. Like, it's not just what the Chiefs have done. It's what everyone else in the conference has done to get to them. And it's a completely different world they're living in. Like I said, man, I expect Brett and Andy to do something. It's hard to see what it is they can do. They got trades they got to make, but they got to scour things. DK Metcalf makes the most sense. He may not be available, but I didn't know Tyreek was. So, like, I didn't know that was available.
They love Drew Lock. They got to
get Laviska Shenault, and you will like it.
All right. Much like Tyreek Hill, we are out.